Now, if you love listening to the Financially Free Journey podcast, then you will love our premium subscription edition of the show. You will get early access, ad-free listening, and bonus content that you will not hear on the regular show. So make sure that you hit the subscription button and join the premium fun. Well, welcome to another episode of the Financially Free Journey podcast, and I am your host, Courtney Dyer. And today I am bringing you a guest. Amy is an intuitive mindset coach, and she's a spiritual teacher and a podcast host. Now, she supports women to connect to their intuition and to really embody their confidence so that they can create a soul-led life and business. And throughout her 8 years of being a business owner, she has discovered the keys to really creating a soul-aligned business and lifestyle. So she teaches women how to overcome their limiting beliefs and to be able to listen to the guidance of their own soul to create financial abundance and fulfillment. So with that, Amy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I am very excited to be here today.
Me too. And guys, we were just discussing before we recorded, but she's got her matcha, like we've both had our caffeine. This is going to be a fantastic conversation. You're getting our highest level and energy. So, so we're good. Amy, tell the listeners, I gave them a brief introduction, obviously, but tell them a little bit about your journey to, from where you started to where you are now.
Yeah. So my journey into the world of spirituality, personal development, personal empowerment, really started with my own journey with mental health. And for as long as I can remember, it was really after high school, I was diagnosed with depression and put on medication and thought that I would need to be on medication for the rest of my life. And my depression wasn't I wasn't in a place where I felt suicidal. It was more this low grade disconnect, emptiness, sadness, negative thinking. And the medication helped, but there was still this feeling that something was off. So I continued to grow up as, we all do, went to college, got my degree in business entrepreneurship. Primarily, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do, but my dad's an entrepreneur and it kind of felt like it gave me a wide scope of where I could go from there. So after I got my undergraduate, I was really passionate at the time around nutrition and wellness because that was also part of my journey that I experienced a lot of physical ailments and a lot of more chronic issues like digestive issues and skin issues and hormone issues, and went to go see my first nutritionist and realized that I actually had more power over my health than I thought. And so I started to study nutrition and went to get my nutrition certification and became a natural chef and really became passionate about helping others. So that's really where like the business and the entrepreneurship started to combine. And I started my nutrition business, started working with women to support them with their health, to support them with their digestion, with weight loss. And I started to realize that there was something for them that was also missing. And it was really aligned with my own personal journey of that feeling of, even when everything on the outside looks perfect, that there seems like there's something off. So you could have the perfect body, you could eat the perfect food, you could have the perfect diet, you could have the perfect friends. But if you're not feeling connected to yourself, that feeling inside won't go away. And so that's really what happened for me. I ended up getting married. I had a beautiful home. We had a little mini golden doodle and was like building this life. And there was a point that I got to where I was like, why is everything so great on paper? And I just feel still so empty inside. I still don't feel happy. And part of that is, as an ambitious woman, and I'm sure your listeners can relate to that, is like, there was a part of me that knew that I was capable of more and that I had this vision for myself and this idea of who I could be, but I just couldn't figure out how to show up as her. And so through this journey and through really discovering, what brings me joy, who I really am, what makes me happy, what makes me feel alive, I went down the rabbit hole of looking at personal development, working with spiritual coaches, going to workshops, listening to podcasts. And it wasn't until I really hit my rock bottom where I was like, okay, I've tried all these things, but I'm not actually doing the practices. And so I ended up starting a meditation practice. And from that place, meditating every day really got to connect with myself. And through that, really healed my mental health, healed my body, and then started to share that with others. And my clients started getting much better results once we started integrating more of the mindset and the spirituality. And then, of course, as a business owner, my business continued to grow and became more successful. And so then I started to incorporate more money mindset and business support along with everything else that I was offering. So I no longer do nutrition. It was part of my journey, but it was a really important part of my healing journey and my path to becoming a coach and a healer as well.
If you have ever thought about starting a podcast, using the Podcorn platform is a must. Podcorn is a marketplace that connects podcasters to amazing sponsorship opportunities and really allows you as the host to maintain creative freedom and full control of your show. Now, I personally use the platform, and I know that Podcorn helps keep you protected and compensated for all of the work that you do. Make sure to click the link in my show notes to get started with Podcorn today. Well, and I love that you shared your journey because, again, being vulnerable and sharing the fact that, it started with mental health. And I know that almost everybody listening has had one time or another, or even currently, are dealing with maybe anxiety or depression, whatever the case may be. And to understand how that directly impacts other facets of your life. And, again, with this show being focused on financial freedom, your ability to be able to reach those goals, you have to be directly aligned with what you're passionate about and understanding, who you are. And, mental health plays a huge part of that, because to be able to really get to that higher level that you're looking for, you have to have all this foundation laid, prior. And it seems like through your experience, Amy, that really did play a part in you being able to build a successful business to help other women and to inspire them to get to their higher selves.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this morning. So this is interesting how intuition works. And I don't know why I was thinking about this. I'm currently in Tulum, Mexico, and I'm living here, and I'm riding around on a scooter, which is hilarious because I've never done that before. And I keep getting these like really interesting ideas while I'm riding. And I'm like, where did that come from? And now I understand it. So I was on my way here for the interview to come home, and one of the thoughts that I had is how important our personal alignment is, how important our mental health and emotional stability is to be able to show up consistently in our businesses, to be able to show up and serve and to give. We have to fill our own cups first. And for a lot of people, that's not consistent. And so one of the ways that I really love to do that, and I'm putting together a new offering that's a guided morning experience essentially, but it's like starting your day by connecting with yourself and getting grounded within yourself before you go out into the world and start to navigate everything else that's going on in your business, in your family, in your social life, on social media, is really taking that time to connect with yourself is one of the first places that I would really start. But yeah, that emotional stability and the learning, I wouldn't say emotional stability because the emotions are going to be there, right? Like you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, your emotions are still going to be there, but how you relate to your emotions and your thoughts is what creates that resilience and that ability to move through them with grace instead of constantly feeling held back by your thoughts and your emotions.
Oh, and that's such a good point, because again, being held back by your own limiting beliefs, and we all have limiting beliefs that we've been programmed with, right? I mean, whether it's your upbringing, cultural, society, whatever it may be, but being able to spend time with yourself. And, as you were giving that example, Amy, I was thinking about, I am such a type A personality, and I think a lot of people probably listening to this show are the same, right? Because they're wanting to, reach goals and get better, right? They're wanting to gain knowledge. And, I'll start out every day with this huge checklist. And even if I get through my entire checklist of like absurd things that I need to do, like most people don't do that in a day, I still at the end of the day, I'm like, but I could have done more, and it's like, I'm not necessarily fulfilled with the progress that I'm, and that may be like a personality trait, but I know that again, it's like, if you can take that time to step back and say, okay, like, let me spend time with myself. Let me understand, like, what am I trying to achieve? So that way you can find that fulfillment in what you do every day.
Yeah. And this is where even personal development or even like spiritual practices can become a checklist, especially for really ambitious women. We're like, okay, I'm going to drink my lemon water and I'm going to do this 20-minute meditation. And then I'm going to do yoga. And then I'm going to do all these things. And like, that can even be approached from the lens of like a type A kind of personality. And, at first, when you're starting to create new habits, it is important to have structure, and that's really supportive. However, one of the ways that I really like to look at it is actually connecting to your intuition and like, what do I feel like this morning? What do I need this morning? Do I need some movement? Do I need to do some journaling? Like, what would feel really nourishing and good for me before I start my day? Maybe it's getting outside and getting into nature. There's so many different things that we can incorporate that every day is a little bit different. And one of the things that I find, especially for people who are checklist oriented, and I'm very ambitious and I have lists as well, and that's the way that my brain naturally works, but also has been programmed to work, because I think that a lot of us are really programmed to really the productivity in life, and the idea that if I don't perform, if I'm not productive, then I'm going to fail or I'm not going to be successful. And there's the other piece of this, which I call more of like the feminine way of doing things, where it's like, let me get into alignment first. Let me connect with myself. Let me get grounded first. And then I can navigate my day with more ease. Even if I have a lot on my plate and a lot on my checklist, I can approach that checklist without the stress, without the overwhelm, without this idea that like I'm not getting enough done. And it's just a different energy that you can move through your day with. You can still get so much done, but starting with that grounding first and connecting to yourself actually shifts the way that you can relate to your checklist in the first place.
Yes, no, I love that, because I was thinking too, is with your clients, do you see a lot of women struggling with connecting their worth directly with their productivity? Okay, guys, did you know that creating an income online or adding a new revenue stream to your business has never been easier? I'm pretty sure you know that because we talk about it all the time. Well, have you ever considered taking your knowledge, your skills, and your expertise and really converting it into a course that you can sell online? So I want to introduce you guys to Learn Worlds. Learn Worlds makes it easy to create, host, and sell beautiful online courses that truly have an impact. And with Learn Worlds' intuitive platform and a wealth of resources to educate yourself, you're only a few steps away from building a thriving online business in a booming knowledge economy. So I want you guys to go ahead and click on the link in the show notes, but it's trylearnworlds.com/free. And I want you to start your 30-day free trial today and get that revenue stream started.
Yeah. So in a society where most of us have some sort of programming, I would say 99% of people, if not all people, have programming around not being enough. So when we talk about worthiness, we're really talking about this idea that we're not enough. So oftentimes we'll try and do more or be more or have more in order to feel worthy. And productivity is a big piece of that. It's like, oh, if I do all of these things and if I post a million things and if I achieve all these accolades, then I'm worthy. And that's the kind of trap that you can get into, because then you're going to always feel like you need to do more and produce more in order to feel worthy. And you never will feel worthy. It's this illusion that will happen. And most people don't know they're doing it, right? Like they don't know that the driver behind their excessive productivity and not taking breaks and not taking care of themselves is because they have a desire to feel like they've achieved something. And
Yeah.
what I want to share with the listeners today is you are enough exactly as you are right now. If you never achieved another accomplishment, if you never did anything in your business that created a big result, you as a human have value to offer as you are right now. You were created that way. You are here on this earth and this planet right now in this moment for a reason. And you don't need to be in a relationship or make $1 million or have a major successful platform in order to be worthy. And starting with that and creating your business from that place and creating wealth from that place is such a different experience. And you actually can be far more successful when you're not constantly chasing or forcing because it's coming from that place of productivity and lack of worthiness. But really, you're showing up knowing that you are worthy. And that translates into a lot more success in the physical realm as well.
Absolutely. It's aligning yourself with higher principles and finding worth in what you're doing currently. And again, it's great to chase dreams and to be able to grow, but your worth isn't derived from being able to check that off a list. And that's hard, even for me to hear. And I know for the listeners, it's like, but my to-do list is telling me that I'm doing good. So that's a really strong message. And I wanted to touch on, you have a podcast. It's called The Feminine Frequency, just for the listeners. And I'll link that down in the show notes. So that way they're able to just click on that so they can find you. But, what are some of the topics you discuss? Like, give us some examples of some of the recent episodes you've put out.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So the podcast has a combination of guest episodes, and then we also have what I call intuitive flow episodes, where I just hop on the mic and I riff about a topic that is either present for my clients or for myself, or that I'm seeing patterns with. So recently I did a intuitive flow session on self-trust and really learning how to create that sovereignty and trust within yourself instead of trying to have someone else show you how to do it, or having to rely on someone else or some formula in order to know how to make decisions in your life. So that's one piece of it, which is also connected to intuition. We talk about so many things on the podcast: money mindset, abundance, getting into your body. Embodiment is a huge one. As ambitious women, we often live so much in the mind, which can create a lot of stress and overwhelm and anxiety. And so part of learning how to actually connect with your body and get into your body is a way to be more present and to enjoy your life more. So we talk about embodiment. We talk a lot about relationships as well. Relationships are such a huge part of our life in general, and really learning how to create conscious, healthy relationships, both with romantic relationships and then also relationships with females in your life. Healing the sisterhood wound is part of that as well. So yeah, and manifestation is always a big one that people love to learn about too.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a hot topic right now. I mean, I hear that all the time. It's like, I am manifesting that I'm going to be successful, and so I think it's really going into the actual, semantics of what that means exactly. Because I think it's like a catchphrase right now that a lot of people are talking about, but it's like, what does that mean exactly? So that's so interesting. And again, it's the connection to your financial success and building wealth is there. And I want to make sure that the listeners understand, it's like knowing your personal goals, how you align with who you are, finding fulfillment in who you currently are, and knowing that you're enough is going to propel you to be able to find more success in the future, whether that is financial or not. But it's really all about being whole, not just financially, but spiritually, physically. It really is so aligned. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. Something that I had heard you talk about, Amy, was dancing with your masculine and your feminine energies in both business and relationships. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means? So let's take a moment to thank this episode's sponsor, Focus. Now, Focus is a sparkling water with a little spark, guys. It's delicious, it's health conscious, and it's thoughtfully caffeinated sparkling water. It's infused with a boost of natural tea caffeine, and the balance of the L-theanine can really get you that clean energy that you want without the sugar and the calories, and most importantly, the crash. So you gotta ditch the sugary sodas and the energy drinks that are really overloaded with the sugar and ingredients that you don't know what they are or even how to pronounce them. The natural caffeine derived from tea gives you the same boost as an 8-ounce cup of coffee, but it's refreshing and it's thirst quenching. And let's just get it straight. I mean, our body needs water, but it doesn't have to be boring. The company has a reverse osmosis water, and it's lightly infused with crisp carbonation to really refresh and hydrate you without the sugar or the guilt. So make sure that you go and you check out. They've got a wide range of flavors. They've got blood orange, mixed berry, cherry, cola, crisp apple, root beer, grapefruit, and I mean, the list goes on and on. It sounds really delicious. I want one right now. I want you to check out the link in the show notes. It's drinkfocus.com, but it's phocus.com, and use the code FREEDOM to get 20% off on your order of Focus sparkling water.
Yeah, sure. So this is one of my favorite topics, and the terms masculine and feminine, I'm going to describe what they mean. And they don't mean men and women or male and female. So it can be a little bit confusing at first, but when you start to hear the terms more often and when I explain them, they will start to make sense. So masculine energy is more of the structure and focus and organization and direction. That is really, really important. We need to have the masculine energy in our businesses and in our relationships. The feminine energy is more about flow and intuition and creativity and surrender. So in your business, if you are constantly operating in your masculine, where you are like overly planning things and so much structure, eventually that often leads to burnout, especially for women who are more what we call feminine essence beings. Being too much in the masculine is going to burn you out. Now, the feminine energy, if you're too far in your feminine energy, you're not going to get a lot done. You're going to be kind of floating. You're going to have all of these ideas, but you're not going to take action on them. You will just feel like you're not being productive. And so we actually need both of these energies in our businesses. And how it relates specifically to relationships is this concept about masculine and feminine is a bigger conversation that's called polarity. And polarity is about having a positive and negative charge. So think about a battery. One side has a plus and one side has a minus. And if you put the minus with a minus, you're not going to get the charge. And if you put the plus with the plus, you're not going to get the charge. So in relationships, why this is so important is if both people are operating from their masculine, you're not going to have as much sexual chemistry. You're not going to have as much intimacy and vulnerability. And so, especially as ambitious women, when you come home from work, if you're in a relationship, there's an importance of turning down the dial of the intensity and the masculine drive of go, 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 and really softening into your body, into your heart. And that creates a really beautiful dynamic in relationships. Now, it doesn't mean that the woman always has to be in her feminine. A man can also be in his feminine as well. And a woman might be like planning a trip and, or the man might be taking care of you if you're sick. So that's more of like a nurturing role. And so it gets a little bit more nuanced and layered, but the important part is just to start to become aware. What percentage of the time am I operating from my masculine, which is usually from my mind, And what percentage of the time am I operating from my feminine, from my heart, and from my body? And those two, just becoming aware of them will help you to create more balance in your energy throughout the day.
Oh, I love that. And, I feel personally attacked because I am too much in my masculine. Okay. I told you about my to-do list and I'm like, okay, I need to soften up a little bit because it's all about the balance. So I feel like you just called me out, but in the best way, Amy. So
You're definitely not alone. And these concepts are so powerful because we actually live in a culture where the masculine is very praised, where for so long we've been taught that productivity and success and doing is the way that is normal. That's actually normalized. So what you're experiencing is actually really normal. And that's how most people operate without having awareness that there is another way to do things. And
right.
so what I would say is like, even just inviting in like 10% more of the feminine into your day, where can you rest a little bit more or create more space in your schedule or slow down a little bit and take a few breaths? That's all the feminine. It doesn't have to be this massive shift where you just become this new person all at once.
Yeah, it's all about baby steps, right? And that leads me to, my last question for you is what's a step that someone can take today after listening to this episode where they're like, these are new concepts that I wasn't aware of. I'm interested in it, but I'm not really sure how to even like implement that or make a change, right? So what's something that someone can do today to help them better align with their feminine frequency and to really be able to, have that next level transformation?
Hmm. Well, I want to say go listen to the podcast, and not just because
Yes.
it's my podcast, but there's so many amazing guests on the podcast. So part of it is becoming more educated and aware of these concepts is the first step so that you have something to work with. So that's somewhere that you can start. But really what I would do is really check in with yourself and first acknowledge and become aware of how are you currently operating, because we have to be honest with ourselves and have to really be willing to look at, without judging, without making yourself wrong, without shaming yourself around it, is like, where am I at today? Am I operating like primarily in my masculine energy? What percentage? And how much am I operating from my feminine energy? And just starting to pay attention. Okay, is this even like harmful for me, or do I feel good about this? If you feel good about it, then maybe you don't need to make a change. But if you're listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, I could really use more feminine energy, like I can see how that would benefit my business and my relationships, then there's an opportunity to take a look at it. So the first step I would say is becoming aware. I like to use pen and paper, old school journal style, like start writing about it, noticing when am I in my masculine, when am I in my feminine, and just start to do some self-discovery around it. And that can often reveal what is the next step once you have the awareness around it.
It's creating awareness. And again, it is tried and true journaling. And there's something so therapeutic about being able to write down your thoughts and your feelings and, being able to really organize those thoughts into something that you can then take and digest, and make a plan from so you can understand how to move
Mhm.
forward to really better yourself. So I love that. And I love these concepts. Guys, make sure that you check out Amy's podcast, Feminine Frequency. I know I mentioned it, but I am going to link it in the show notes here. Where else can the listeners find you?
Yeah, they can also find me on Instagram. My handle is Amy Natalie Co. So that's CO at the end. And those two places are the best place to find me right now.
That is, again, guys, make sure that you go follow her on Instagram, check out her podcast. And again, the connection here is being for us to be able to find that alignment within ourselves, within our goals, understanding our higher principles and what we're trying to achieve. And, the wealth building will follow, and being happy along the way is possible, whether you believe it or not. So, Amy, again, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And guys, if you're not already, make sure you're following us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the socials. It's at Financially Free Journey. We will find more tips and daily motivation to help you with your money goals. Until next time.